My next guest has got a huge fight in Toronto, UFC 297, going to be taking on Neil Magny. It is proper Mike Malott here on the program. Mike, how are you?
What's going on, James? How are you, man? Thanks for having me on. Nice shirt, buddy.
Thank you. Yeah, I had to for the occasion. Obviously, we're talking UFC 297, the next card in Canada. And let's start there first, man. You wanted to get on this card. This has got to be a huge moment in your life. Tell me where you were when it was official you were fighting Magny and what your emotions were like, because I know this is something you've wanted for a while.
Yeah, I was at my jiu-jitsu gym. I was at my grappling gym with one of my coaches. We just finished up training, and my manager just finished up practice and saw a text from my manager saying, give me a shout when you got a chance, got some cool news. And called him. He's like, hey, man, we got a fight for you for the card you wanted, 297 in Toronto. It is happening. I'm like, oh, hell yeah. You know, we had heard rumors for a while that fight was going through. And so I was pretty excited. And, you know, I had no idea where they were going to go as far as opponents. And they're like, yeah, they want you're getting that top 15 shot, man. You're getting your spot in your top 15, which honestly, I thought they'd probably give me one more before giving me a shot in the top 15. It's a pretty stacked division right now. And but I was absolutely ecstatic with the matchup. I'm ecstatic with the opportunity. And then that it looks like we have the same placement on the card as last time, that, you know, featured fight before the co-main event. So it's pretty sweet opportunity.
Who's the first person you told the news to?
I went in and told my coach. I was like, hey, man, hush, hush. It's not official, but this is the fight. And, you know, you never know for sure if a fight's going to go through. A guy might turn a fight down, a guy might get hurt. But honestly, like with him, I'm like, he doesn't seem to turn fights down. Like, I'm pretty confident this one's going through. And so, yeah, just as soon as I got the news, I was like, okay, this fight's definitely happening.
Was Magny a guy you figured you might be fighting just in terms of his placement in the rankings and everything?
I definitely thought we'd run into each other in the next fight or two. But, you know, like I said, I wasn't certain they were going to give me a top 15 guy. You know, I'd only had 3 fights in the UFC, though. I'm really happy with the performances I've had. I've had all stoppage wins. So I think especially it being in Toronto, like you want to give a Canadian kid a shot in the top 15. And I think as far as matchups go, like I'm confident against anybody in this division, but as far as stylistic matchups go, I think this is a super favorable matchup for me. I don't focus too much on my opponents. I focus on myself. But I have this fight covered everywhere it could take place.
Is anything different for this camp with the fact you are fighting a really solid veteran here in Magny, or is it pretty much just business as usual?
I mean, we've tweaked every training camp a little bit. Like every camp I've had heading into the UFC and through the UFC has been the best camp I've ever had. And I feel like each camp, I'm like, well, that was the best it's ever been. Like, I don't know how it's going to get any better than that. And then we find little things to tweak or to add in or to take out or to shift around. And each fight, I'm like, dude, this camp's been way better than the previous camp. And I feel that with this fight, like, obviously I've got more time to prepare for this one than I did the last one. This one, I think I got the call like 13 weeks out or something like that. So a massive time to prepare. Whereas the last one I had about 7 weeks for the opponent. But we knew when the card, we knew the card was in Vancouver last time. So I was preparing for that card regardless of who I was fighting. And who I'm fighting changes a little bit, but I'm not going to completely change who I am. I'm not going to completely change my style. There are things that I keep in mind, and obviously in studying my opponent, there are some things that I see that I can exploit in him and things that I want to avoid. But overall, it's business as usual for us.
Who are you mainly working with as far as bodies in the gym? Who are you getting a chance to work with ahead of this one?
One of my main training partners is always Aaron Jeffrey. He should be the next in line for the Bellator middleweight title. Big, strong 185er that just pressures forward and breaks guys. And he's technical and he's all meat and potatoes. Like he's just a hard worker and has that kind of forward pressure and is strong as a horse and is used to all my tricks by now. So like every sparring session gets tougher and tougher because I can't trick him with stuff. So I've got to, you know, like, not that I've ever really been able to trick him, but just like, okay, I can try this move, I can try that. And he's like onto my shit already. So, you know, I have to stay really sharp against him. Another great asset that's been added to the training camp is Keenan Keller. He's from Vancouver actually. And so he's 6'5" with like a 78.5-inch reach. So he's like a big long dude, big long 85er. So he kind of like naturally has this guy's style to a T. So he's been a great training partner for that. Pat Pitlick's another welterweight. He's in
I know
Unified.
Pat really well, actually. Yeah.
Pat's sick. He's been another main training partner of mine. He helped me prepare for the Johan Linnes fight. He was out of town for the last fight, so I didn't get to work with him, and I was working with mostly Southpaws for the last one anyway. But those are three of the biggest training partners right now, and then there's always a ton of other bodies to work with. Like there's no shortage of solid training partners in this area, and I have world-class coaches who I'm doing a lot of one-on-one sessions with. So really doing like a lot of lab study and then test it under stress and back to the lab again and again.
How do you deal with the pressure? I know you had sort of the, the fight in Vancouver already. That was kind of like, the big fight in Canada and all that, but this is Toronto, man. Like this is like, I know your dream is to fight there in the UFC. How do you keep yourself in check without getting too emotional? I know you sort of had the test already in Vancouver, but Toronto's a different animal, right?
I mean, pressure's a perspective, right? Like this isn't pressure for me. This is privilege. I get to do this. I could be working some job I hate, and I could be coming home, dreaming of a life that I was too scared to go for. And I'm blessed to have been in a position where I can go for this life as hard as I possibly can. And I'm blessed to be back in Canada, and been blessed to go down to the States and train down in California with Team Alpha Male for 7 years and Team CSA. And now I get to do it back home with my friends, my family, people that I'm close with that mean the world to me. I get to live in my new house with my fiance that we just bought this summer.
Congrats, by the way. I remember us talking when that was going down, so that's great.
Yeah, thank you. So we're still obviously moving stuff in. I got the black belt up in the cabinet, but nothing else yet. Gotta get my gloves and belts and stuff like that to put behind me. But yeah, man, like what pressure? I went out last time and felt the energy of 20,000 Canadians cheering for us, cheering for me. You want to talk about pressure. There's like you being the last Canadian after Canadians went 5-5, and it's your fight. You're the one on the line. Like you're the one who could ruin it for everybody. You're the one that can, tap the ball tap the ball into the hole for the finish, right? But yeah, man, like I feel like these moments make me stronger. I feel like I rise to the occasion. Sometimes you get guys who kind of crumble under pressure and they're great gym fighters, but they can't perform. And I feel like I perform well in the gym, but I feel like I'm the opposite. I feel like I perform even better on fight night. You can call it pressure if you want, but I love the energy that surrounds fights. I love that it's do or die. And if you can't do it now, then you never could have done it. And I love the fans. Last time was an absolute treat, man. I got absolutely spoiled with all the fans. And I mean, you were there, you felt that energy, you felt like how wild it was that night. That's what I want for the rest of my career, man. If I can just fight in Canada for the rest of my career, I'll just do that.
Yeah, I think the UFC's taken note too. I mean, it sounded like, and I know you were at that presser about like how they're going to make Canada like a priority, which is great to hear because we got some really good fans out here in Canada, obviously. So that's awesome to see. I got to ask your prediction. How do you see this one playing out? The one thing with Magny, obviously pretty durable guy, like Ian Garry wasn't able to finish him. I know he's been finishing some other fights as well, but how are you looking at this one as far as a prediction?
Yeah, again, I don't care about my opponent too much. Like I respect him, but at this point I'm fighting number 13. Like I'm just fighting a number to me. So doesn't matter if this guy is durable, doesn't matter if guys have struggled to put him away. I like numbers and stats and I like proof. So we look at my last 5 fights leading up to this one. All of those fights, not only have I won by stoppage in all 10 of my wins, but my last 5 fights, I've won all by stoppage, and I've stopped guys in ways that they've never been stopped before. So undefeated guy, I was the first guy to beat him, first guy to submit him. Next fight, first guy to beat this guy, first guy to submit him because the guy was undefeated. Next fight, Mickey Gall is the first guy to knock him out on the feet. Next guy, Johan Linnes, first guy to submit him. Last fight, Adam Fugit, first guy to submit him. So you want to talk about like, well, these guys are tough to finish. Like, how can you put these guys away? It's like, dude, nobody had done that to any of those 5 guys. And I've done that to all 5 of them back to back to back to back. So this guy might be tough. He's going to have to be. He's going to, I'm coming dangerous. I've got dangerous weapons on the feet, dangerous weapons on the ground. I can knock this man out. I can submit this man. I can break a limb. I can finish this guy with anything I want, man. So I don't care how I get the stoppage, so long as I get the stoppage. I don't want this fight going the distance. I'm not going to let it go the distance. I'm doing everything in my power to make sure I finish this guy, and I'm prepared to go hard for 15 minutes until I get my stoppage.
The top of your division, we have the title fight Saturday between Leon and Colby. What's your thoughts on that fight? Who do you think ends up on top in that one?
I think probably Leon. You know, it's hard to tell with Colby. Like, I know he's solid, but the guy hasn't fought in a long time, and he hasn't won in even longer. So it's hard to make like a solid prediction on him. I think Leon's probably going to get the job done. He's a solid fighter, so he could probably get it done.
What about the main event of your card, Strickland and Plessis? Who do you see taking the middleweight title on that one?
I think probably Strickland, just with that pressure, that ability to move forward, and he's just like, he's so tough, in your face. He seems like a bit of a psycho, man. So there's that X factor, you know. But he's super entertaining, man. I think he keeps the title in that one.
Got a couple rapid fire questions for you. Just whatever comes to mind first. There's no wrong answers here. I want to get your thoughts. Who is the best striker in the UFC in your opinion? Remember, there's no wrong answers here. Whatever comes to mind.
Probably right now, Alex Pereira.
Who's the best grappler?
Probably Islam.
Who's the funniest fighter?
I don't know, man. Jamal Hill and Kevin Holland cracked me up.
Okay. Who would you want to have dinner with? Any fighter on the roster? Who would you want to have dinner with?
Probably one of my buddies who's fighting this weekend. You know, Andre Feely or Cody Garbrandt or Josh Emmett. Those are my boys, and miss the guys. I've met plenty of people in this sport. I'd rather spend time with the guys I care about.
Good answer. Who would you want by your side in a street fight?
Right back to it, Feely, man. We've been pretty there a couple of times, man. We've gotten out by the fuck, just barely skated out of there without. I'm not going to get into details.
Fair enough. I'll take your word for it.
We've just about been there a few times.
Who has the highest fight IQ in the UFC?
Who's got the highest fight IQ? A few guys are coming to mind. I don't know, man. Who's got the highest fight IQ? I mean, I like Cejudo. I think he's intelligent. I spoke with him and just seeing the way he breaks things down. I like that. We've got a well-rounded game. I'll go with Cejudo.
Good answer. And last one, what's a dream fight you want to see in the UFC?
Super proud of my buddy Song Yadong last weekend, man. I'd love to see him get a title shot. So I don't care who it's against, but I'd love to see him get that shot at the belt.
Gotcha. So O'Malley's the champ, Song and O'Malley. Sounds good to me. That works out well. How many people do you have coming to the fight? I imagine, like, it's one thing, I know you had a lot in Vancouver, but now that it's in Toronto, like, you got to be having an army coming out here, I would imagine.
Dude, as far as I'm concerned, 20,000. So, you know, like the way it was last time, it's everybody's there with me, and you know, I'm there representing everybody. I have a lot of friends that are coming to the fights. They released those ticket prices, and I got a bunch of texts that day, and they're like, hey, actually, you know, we're going to be watching this one from home. Unfortunately, it's a little bit out of the budget, but I still do have like quite a lot of people coming. I've messaged a bunch of friends and family that are putting me in chats, and they're like, all right, let's try and get this coordinated. I'm like, I'd love for you guys to be there, but you guys figure that out. I'm not playing, like,
probably hitting you up for tickets too. Hey, you got some extra? It's like,
dude, you know, this is like a damn dance recital or a performance where I want you guys to come watch. Like, this is a fist fight in a cage, and if you guys want to be there and witness it, then I'd be more than happy for you guys to be there. But at the end of the day, like, I got to focus on that.
Yeah, no, for sure. Neil Magny, your opponent, his last opponent, Ian Garry. I know he's kind of been in the news a lot. He was supposed to fight Vicente Luque this weekend. I don't know if you heard, he's out of that now because of an illness. What do you make of that, all that stuff? I don't know if you pay attention to it or not, but obviously he's been getting a lot of flack for kind of going after other fighters. Like, he went after Jeff Neal a bit. He went after Neil, and then most recently Luque made kind of a sarcastic post on something religious he did. Do you kind of pay attention to any of that, or is that not even on your radar?
Dude, I'm not going to let his distractions become my distractions. Like, if he wants to go be distracted and do his thing, and that goes for anybody in this sport. Like, I pay attention to technique, and I pay attention to things that I can steal and I should watch out for. But as far as like all this, however you live your life and do all that crap, like, go for it, man. You do it. I don't care what's going on. I've heard some guys say some stuff throughout random gyms. Like, did you hear he's doing this? Like, I don't care. I don't know. I don't care what his personal life's like. I don't care what he's going through. It's unfortunate that he's sick. I did see that today, that he's out of the fight. Like, you don't want anybody to have to pull out and be sick, and affects more people than just him. But more so for me, like, the thing that infuriates me, not infuriates me, but it's just like annoying, like these kind of new age fighters where they say stuff, they say some things that are pretty personal, and they kind of cross the line, and then the fight's over, and then they hug a guy and they're like, oh, I was just saying it to sell tickets. It's like, just because you're doing something for money, even if you don't believe in it, doesn't mean it's okay. Like, some of these things affect people's lives outside of the cage, and I think it just sets like a bad example. But do what you got to do to sell tickets. It seems like people are really excited to watch him fight. Unfortunately, the fight's off, but do what you got to do to sell tickets. Doesn't bother me. Whatever.
Well said. Well said. Kind of reminds me of like GSP. He never really did any of that. He kind of sold his fights, but did it in his own way. So I think we can learn a lot from that. UFC 297, January 20th. I can't wait for this card, man. It's going to be great. Mike, if there's anyone you want to thank before we get out of here, any sponsors, any social media, I'll give you the last word.
Yeah, I mean, thanks to all my sponsors. With the Full Send boys on there. Got all my teams. Thank you guys. Appreciate all the help. Yeah, got the Bodog there, so thanks to those guys. Yeah, lots of thanks, lots of love, all the fans. Appreciate you guys getting behind me, man. I'm really excited to put on a great show for you guys. Like, I feel like this is going to be an absolutely breakout performance, and this is really going to push us to that next level. And these Canadian cards, man, we keep the last one we came back strong. We're going to come back strong on this one, and we're really going to make a real charge. So appreciate you guys for the support.